Okay, so you've probably seen on Twitter the last couple days that I've been announcing that I've updated ICBM Classic. Now I've got a lot of work to do, but I've got enough that I can show that the mod is actually fully functional. Now, for those of you wondering why I updated the mod, I've been kind of conflicted that I kind of abandoned the original style of the mod back when I rewrote it, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to update it, if I wanted to make it an add-on, or what I wanted to do with it, and I finally decided here about 2 or 3 weeks ago that I was just gonna update the mod, import it, and make it as a standalone. Well, not so much standalone as it still needs Volt's engine, but as a companion mod to the new rewrite. Now, I'm not going to need to change anything. I will be improving the mod, so I'll be adjusting performance, I'll be adjusting texture handling, I'll be adjusting a little bit of everything so that it runs better. I'll be implementing some better GUIs, better handling, and anything I can find that'll make it more efficient and effective to use the mod. Now I would use the word easy, but one of my professors has been screaming at me for using easy because it's highly subjective. Normally I would say to make things easier to use, but easy is not a way to describe this. So right now we got this GUI. This actually works. You can actually do everything you normally can. You can set the frequency, you can set the lock height, you can set the detonation height, you can set your target coordinates. I'll be adjusting this GUI so you can understand what these each do, adding better tooltips, probably submenus. There will be links to the wiki, so up here in the corner there'll be a little help button. You'll click that, it'll open up the in-game wiki, or if you have your settings changed, it'll open the external wiki first. That'll be coming here over the next couple months. Almost all the mods will be getting that wiki system. But right now I don't have it implemented to show it off. But I do have all these functional. I haven't tested to see if they all work, so I'm not actually going to show the base functionality. I'll do that here in an updated tutorial video on how to use the mod. But I can show that the machines do open up. You can change the settings on here. I have no way to power any of these, so these wouldn't even work anyways if I tried to use them. Rotation code works. There is some rendering issues, like these keep changing their directional for some reason. I haven't quite figured out what's up with that. I believe the rotation code is not meshing with the updated rotation code. You see over here, I've been testing. I've tested every single explosive. All the explosives work exactly how they're supposed to. With the exception of the red matter, it doesn't consume blocks as quickly as it should be, and I can't tell if that is intentional. I don't remember if when we, in our final versions of 1.6, if we changed the tick update rates, but there's the antimatter. The thing is laggy as ever. It goes off and makes that hole, and if your computer runs slow, that hole takes forever to show up. Same for a lot of these other ones. These will be threaded just like ICBM. They won't probably be thread locked as badly as ICBM. Then again, the normal ICBM is going to be a little less thread locked as well. And what I mean by thread locked is not the technical term for thread locking. I mean as in it just takes a while for Minecraft to process it. As the technical term for thread locking means the program actually dies and locks up because two threads are competing with each other. As you see, here's all the explosives. They're all placeable. They can all be triggered. You can actually craft them all. Or if I hit any NEI properly set up, you can see the recipes, but I don't. All the decor blocks work. The glass doesn't have the connected textures. I'm gonna probably see if I can talk Henneman or somebody else into doing that for me. Radar station does work. Right now I don't have anything launched, so we can't actually see it in functionality progress. Because this will only identify the entity missiles from the ICBM Classic version. It doesn't detect the new ICBM missile, so I'm going to have to add compatibility between the two because they both use different functionality libraries. I'm still using the old libraries for this stuff. But I can show a few explosions here to show that it does work. There is a problem right now with the textures. I had to remove the textures because they didn't mesh up with the models anymore. I have no clue what happened to them. I believe this was an issue in the 1.6.4 version that never got fixed before we moved to 1.7. And I'm having my modeler rebuild the models as object models. They'll look exactly the same, but they'll perform better, easier to render, better to scale, and it'll fix the texture issues. Let's grab a couple grenades real quick, and then I will grab a couple explosions and show them off. And here we go. Okay, so grenades are pretty standard. They work exactly how they did. The longer you hold them, the farther they go. I'm going to leave them exactly this way. The versions that will be released in the Armory mod, which will be the updated version of these, will actually bounce and skip across the ground, and they will have 3D models. But you see, they work. They go off. Let me actually grab a little different version of the grenades here. A little lack of variety. The incendiary ones don't work right now. I'm going to have to fix that. I think it's a can place fire check that changed between 1.6 and 1.7. So those don't work at the moment, so that's something I gotta fix. The shrapnels, they work perfectly fine. They actually are really nice. Although they're basically just duplicates of arrows anyways. The code, the 1.6 code is not very impressive, but actually let's do the chemical first. As you can see, there's some drop code. That's only affect bad in creative mode. I'm gonna actually back up so I don't get hit by this. I got hit by it anyways, but chemicals work. They give you all the nasty effects here. A little disorientating, especially for somebody like me. When I was testing this, I almost puked my guts out because I got hit by this, and I got hit by the defibrillation one, which blinds you. So you gotta imagine my screen basically turned upside down. It just wow, these take forever to turn off. For those that have vertigo issues or stuff like that, I apologize. I'll try to remember to add a warning to the videos. Here's the antimatter, and you'll see what I mean by as laggy as ever. None of the audio effects are working right now. This would actually play a really high-pitched noise when it goes to go off. I have not registered any of the audio effects yet. I'll be doing that here later. This takes forever to go off. Okay, there we go. It went off, and it'll take here a few seconds, and then we'll have a big hole. Now the interesting thing is the code is for the rewrite can actually make holes this big. The reason it doesn't make holes this big is I've got the radius nerfed down really, really high in order to balance it, because the new version can destroy literally everything, where this one is actually limited on what it can destroy. Even though it breaks bedrock, it will not break certain unbreakable blocks like I believe it won't do Thaumcraft's awarded blocks anymore. Let's do the red matter here. Now the red matter, I'm still concerned if why it isn't. So what it'll do is it'll go off, and then it pretty much doesn't consume blocks very quickly. And I can't tell if this is a problem that has always been there, or if it's an issue I'm going to have to resolve. Either way, I'm going to fix it, because this needs to scale and kind of do a few other things. But good thing is it works, and I'm going to be porting this code over to the rewrite here pretty soon. Well, porting is a technical term. I'm actually going to rewrite most of it, but I'm going to copy the render effects. So the exact way it looks, I'm going to make sure it does the same exact thing over in the rewrite, with a little bit of an exception. I'm actually going to adjust it a little bit here, but I actually want to test one more thing here. Let's see. Yes, they still move. Now this is a really important feature, as people like Yogscast have figured out. These things are fully movable, and that's a feature that's going to stay in here. The rewrite will also include the same exact feature, because after all, it's pretty nice. Although I will be clamping it so it doesn't float up into the atmosphere. But other than that, everything pretty much works. Everything's placeable. A few localization issues, a few problems I'm going to have to adjust. S-Mine renderers, for example, are not functional. They do, however, entity render, which tells me the render does work. It's just still destructive as ever. But yeah, ICBM Classic is almost done. Sometime this week I'll have it in alpha testable state, which means I'll release it on Curse under the experimental for people to manually download. Once the modeler gets me the new models, I'll release it to beta, and then after a few weeks I'll knock it to release, because after all, I'm not going to be doing anything to this mod. It's going to stay exactly how it is, as a kind of like a Coke Classic type scenario, where completely untouched, the original formula, no modifications, only slight improvements to improve the quality, and everything's going to function. Although I'm going to nerf the tracker, because that was the most requested feature out of every version I've ever released, is that the tracker be nerfed. There'll be configs, so people who don't want it nerfed can reverse it. actually, I'm gonna do configs on literally everything in here. The old version had some pretty good configs where you could disable recipes and explosions. I'm going to actually add configs to modify how everything behaves in here. Also, another thing to point out, the remote detonator, the radar gun, and the laser detonator are actually the same exact items they are from the rewrite. Instead of updating the original code, I just copied those over from the new version because there is no code to make the old versions work anymore. The old versions used the old radio frequency system. That doesn't exist anymore, so it's using the new radio map system. Those two systems work completely, utterly different from each other. The good news is the code does function dramatically better. What this does is when you go to click this, this actually sends out a signal through a map registry that then triggers everything. And then the silo will pick up on the trigger event just like the radio antennas will in the new rewrite version. The only difference is instead of having to build an antenna in order to get the signal, the launchers just act as supersized antennas. I'll probably set their radio range to be, I don't remember what the distance was. I'll have to check what the communication distance was in the original. And I may have to code special handling as a global radio map system, because if there's an unlimited range for them, then the new map system is kind of pointless. But that should work. Everything's pretty much good. I'll have more of these videos here later. I'll be having some tutorials released on how to use everything, because I don't know if any of the old tutorials are still valid. More demos. I'll be porting these carts off as a separate mod here eventually. The original will keep the carts, but there will be a paired version to go with all the new explosives. That'll be just the explosive carts. There'll be a version that's just the explosive blocks here coming out. These will get custom models per each, so they'll look really nice. There will be settings to turn off the models and go with a solid block for those of you who have low frame rate computers. I'll be implementing a system to also do for all these models too, so you can turn off their renderers and go with a very static render. I'll be prototyping that over the next couple months, but that's pretty much it. I'll have more of these videos here later, and I'll see you guys.